Okay, there we go. Recording. Hi. I'm back. This is day 2 um of my videos, my challenge to myself to record every day for the closing of 2025. Right now, as you can see, I'm in my car. I'm actually at work. I'm on my lunch break. So if you see me take a couple bites or sips and stuff with things, just because I want to be productive, eat, and as well do this video. Um, so first and foremost, greetings to those. If you didn't see my first video, I'm gonna reintroduce myself. My name is Terrell Marshall, and this is my channel. The Struggle Is RELL, kind of like a split off my name, RELL. And what we're here talking about is basically, and it's, hold on a second, getting my notes, because I did take notes for what I'm going to talk about today. Just a little recap on yesterday. Yesterday I talked about accountability. A lot of stuff got brought up as far as about how we need to start as a people taking accountability for each other as well as ourselves, and anything that's happening in our lives. And that was pretty much it. I didn't go too far into depth of anything because it was my first video. Each video should get better. This one I feel like I'm probably even doing more movement than I was yesterday, but today I did take notes for what I was going to say. Yesterday I was freestyling, and actually a lot of stuff came from the heart. But today I wanted to talk about, again, accountability. This is part 2 of my accountability videos. Today I want to talk about showing up. Now, there's 2 parts of this. First of all, it's about how you show up. And then after that, tomorrow I'll talk about how people show up in your lives. So showing up, who are you showing up for? It's more so, in life, what do you do as far as showing up? What do you work? When you work at your job, are you all the way connected to your job and the culture of your job? Are you one of those people that's kind of disconnected? Are you a person that, I guess, say, super involved in your job? Are you in some form of leadership? Are you like something significant at your job? Then it's about how you show up. And you could still be in a position of significance and still show up kind of sloppy, or you could show up on time, you could show up fully engulfed, present, and everything else like that. And then there's the why. Why are you showing up? And I think accountability has a lot to do with all of that, as far as how you show up and how you do things, because the way you show up for people, your job, and things, I think it reflects in the rest of your life. For instance, and I guess this is a very good example of why maybe certain things in my life don't line up right. Okay, like today, I ain't gonna lie to you and say I showed up. I didn't show up late, but I did show up on time. And anytime you show up on time, it's still considered late. So you're supposed to show up early. So with that being said, I showed up on time. That's not good of me. But I'm here to expose my flaws. I'm human just like everybody else. But I would just say I showed up on time. So right now, as we speak, I literally, well, not right now, but just a few minutes ago when I went to go get my lunch, I went to go look at my bank account because today's payday, and my money's not in there. My check's not in there. So I don't know if it had anything to do with the holiday, but I would just say that by my money not being there, I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Where's my money? So, but then that's kind of like, I had to think about that for a minute, and it all played into what I'm about to say is like, well, when your money don't show up on time, or show up early or whatever, how does that look? When you show up late, you show up late, and then you're expecting all these good blessings and stuff. You show up on time, you're still expecting all these good blessings. You're expecting to get promoted. And I talked about this the other day too, or not the other day, but yesterday, about how I was almost hit with a reprimand for oversleeping, and God, somehow came through and I didn't get the reprimand. However, with that being said, it just, I had to think about how in my life, how I'm showing up at my job, because there's accountabilities. It's like we have a morning meeting, everybody's getting checked in as they walk in, clock in and all of that. When you show up on time every single day, or you show up early every single day, or you show up late every single day, it's a reflection of yourself. So if you show up late, why would you expect anybody or anything to show up on time for you? It's what you're almost like you're blocking your own blessings. And then I would say the same thing far as if you show up early. You should expect to get all the blessings because you're doing everything you're supposed to do. So my fault on my part, and I'm trying to do better, and that's why I'm doing this channel, because not only am I trying to help people, I'm trying to help myself as well. I know there's people that probably do far worse than I do, and then there's people that do far better than I do, and we're all here to help each other. So who and how and stuff, the why. Why do you show up? Why do you show up to your job? I mean, obviously the big thing is showing up for a check. But a lot of times you should be wanting to be elevated at your job. And in the time that I was looking at this reprimand, that kind of scared me, because I don't get in trouble. So that's why I keep bringing up this whole reprimand, because I don't get in trouble. I really do not. I usually fly really low out of off the radar, to get in trouble. But to get a reprimand, it was really devastating to me, because I'm in a position where I could get promoted, but I felt like this was going to delay my promotion. So with that being said, I guess I was looking at it like, damn, I literally blocked my blessings. I blocked my blessings by not showing up that day, not today or anything, but that day I didn't show up. I could have got a reprimand that could have blocked my blessings, and then it blocks my blessing for why I come to work, which is get money, get promoted, and move forward. So with all of that being said, you have to look at this in your life. You have to look at this for how you go about people, how you go about things. Now, one thing I will say in life, I do show up for people. I was talking about this yesterday. I've been there for my younger brother, because he was going through a situation. He's not out of the woods yet. He's still kind of dealing with it, but I've been there for him. And to see him go through that, I had to look at myself, and I had to ask questions. I had to be like, damn, I'm here for him. Who's usually here for me? Because I'm the big brother, but I don't have really a big brother. The only person I can almost equate to a big brother is my best friend, Sean. And but me and him are on different schedules. We work at the same place, but we're on different schedules. We don't really see each other as much as we did back when we first started. And it's just like, I show up for people, but do people really show up for me? Do they really take me as serious as I take other people serious? And then again, do I really take everything as serious as I should? Because where I might be great in one area, saving somebody, helping somebody else out, being there for them, am I really showing up right for myself? So accountability is really a big thing. I mean, I don't know who's out there, that needs to hear this, but you need to hear this, that you have to realize every day while you're waking up what you're doing, who you're affecting. When you don't show up to your job on time, you're affecting your team. Your team is counting on you to be there to do a job. And if you're showing up late every day, and you're holding them back, and you're kind of like lightweight, cheating your team as well as cheating yourself. You're cheating yourself out of a promotion. You're cheating yourself out of money. You're cheating yourself out of an opportunity to potentially keep that job. So I guess with all that being said, I just wanted to drop this. I don't want to do a lot of lengthy videos and stuff. I really want to try to keep these around 5 to 10 minutes. I'm at about 11 right now, but I would just say everybody needs a why. You have to realize why you're here. I know I was listening to this sermon from my pastor at one point, and not to go too deep into what I can always bring it up at a later date, but she basically was saying something to the nature about God, how God created the world, and in 7 days, well, 7 days, the seventh day was for rest, and how God kind of orchestrated us to kind of do the same thing, orchestrated us to work and show up and do a job, and because we're not supposed to be broke. God didn't build us to be broke and poor, built us to be wealthy, prospering in human beings on earth. And what she said kind of made sense. She basically was saying something to the nature that when you show up, to work, you should look at it like you're showing up really for God. Would you show up to God late? Be like, oh, my alarm went off late. I woke up late or whatever. I mean, you're doing the same job every day and you're waking up at the same time every day. It'd be different if your schedule changed. My schedule's the same every day. I wake up at around 2:30-ish. I have to be to work at 4. I live about 25 minutes away from my job. And it's like, it's the same routine every morning or every other morning or whatnot. So how is it that I'm failing or falling short on doing my job, or getting to my job? So really, you're really showing God when you show up late, really what you want in life and what you're made of. I mean, he'll still give you your blessings. God is not like he's that critical. I would just say he's not like deducting points from you or nothing in that sense, but he do see, when you ask for something, he can always delay your blessings. He could still look at you like, hey, you're doing this every day, so you're not showing up for me. Why should I show up for you? I mean, I'll give you your your minimal blessings, but that's what it's going to be because you're giving me minimal effort. So I really took heed of what she said. I mean, and I even read this book by 50 Cent. It's that Hustle Smart, Hustle Harder book that he did a few years back. And even he said, if you want to have your own business, which, in turn I do, why, just because you might not have the same energy to show up at your job, that doesn't mean you do them a disservice by showing up late. Because basically, if you show up late to your job, your patterns are going to continue into your business. How are you going to function in your business? How are you going to show up in your business and late when it's your business and stuff? So I mean, a lot of stuff that I've learned over the years, I'm really taking heed to. So all in all, today I'm just more talking about showing up. Now tomorrow, I want to talk about who's showing up for you, because really this is gonna kind of be the one that puts all of this into place about accountability. Because like I was saying yesterday when I was talking about Marshawn, I was talking about the whole situation where he killed himself. He had, I guess, mental health issues or whatnot. I did kind of look into it a little bit more, but I hope I didn't say Marshawn Jackson. I feel like I said Marshawn Jackson. Marshawn Nealon. I'm sorry if I said Jackson. I don't know. I'll see the playback, but he basically took his own life. And I always have to ask, like, who was in his corner? Obviously at one point his mother was in his corner, but she passed. So was that it? Was that, pretty much the end of his bloodline for help? That he didn't have nobody near and dear to him outside his mother that he could go to, a significant other, older child, which, probably more than likely he didn't have an older child because he was only 24. Just somebody he could go to say, hey, I'm going through it. Obviously, you got enough money, you could go talk to a doctor. You can go hire any kind of doctor, you want, and be like, hey, I'm having issues. So nobody was there for him. So I want to talk about that tomorrow. And it's going to basically have the same 3 points, which is who shows up for you, how they show up for you, and why they show up for you. But this is pretty much it. And this video went a little longer than I wanted it to, but I would just say it's cool. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you want to talk about, what you want to hear. If you have anything, if you are going through something and you need someone to talk to, I'm here. But that's it. Struggle is real. I'm out.